explain about perspective on juveniles incarcerated in secure facilities. Next. Okay, so I am AZREENA and my mate AZNINA. So next. There are 12 of contents in this topic, so I hope you guys stay strong. So I'm going to explain 1 to 5 and she's going to take the rest. Okay, so the introduction. Dalam ni ada disposition option which is judges consider out of home placement for adjudicated delinquents, and the placement option include non-secure foster or group homes, secure residential treatment centers or juvenile correctional facilities. So this I'm going to explain through after this. And there are sentencing standard which is determinate disposition, specific asset length of institutionalization at the time of the juvenile court disposition. Maknanya court dah tetapkan dia orang duduk dalam tempat tu berapa lama. Kalau indeterminate disposition ni, dia has more open-ended period, often determined by the youth behavior and progress to rehabilitation. Maknanya dia orang keluar daripada tempat tu depends on dia orang punya progress. And nowadays trends show that some states are moving to a determinate disposition for certain types of juvenile offender. Juveniles who have been found guilty of something called serious delinquency may be allowed to stay out of the jail until they turn 18, and they need to be tried and judged differently from anyone else who has been found guilty of the same offense. Next. Trends in juvenile placement. The number of youth held in residential placement decreased from 1997 to 210. Even though the number of young people in the juvenile detention center is going down, the fact that there are still many of them in secure facilities and that they are made up so many different types of offenders, from serious to moderate to minor, has led to a lot of control. Challenge in juvenile correctional facilities. Dalam ni ada challenge lah. And despite a decline in the number of the incarcerated youth, challenge persists, including traits of violence, demeaning tasks and assault. Ada keganasan, ada serangan dan ada kerja-kerja rendah taraf. And the juvenile institution increasingly resemble adult facilities, emphasizing control and impersonality. Juvenile sekarang banyak sama dengan adult punya jail, yang mana ada kontrol-kontrol khusus dan tiada peri kemanusiaan. Next. History of juvenile institution in America. Masa dulu, masa zaman kolonial, in the American colonial, children guilty of repeated incorrigibility could face death sentence or be placed in adult houses of correction for indeterminate periods. Masa dulu, masa zaman kolonial ni, diorang yang mana buat salah banyak kali kena dihukum mati ataupun berada dalam bersama adult lah. And then adalah timbul Connecticut Blue Laws in the 1650, which is dalam ni dia empower the governor or two magistrate to commit rebellious children to houses of correction for hard labor and several punishment. Dalam ni yang mana kanak-kanak yang memberontak akan dihantar ke tempat houses of correction untuk kerja-kerja berat. And there are common court responses. Despite the allowance for executions or imprisonment, the most common response to the youthful misbehavior were whipping or release to custody of parent. Now, banyak court, masa dulu banyak juga court yang melepaskan je kepada parents. Okay, next. In the early juvenile institution in the 1824, the first juvenile institution called a house of refuge was established in 1824 in the New York, separating juveniles from adults by employing several treatment like ball and chain, handcuff and whipping. Masa ni ada timbullah rumah yang khas untuk juvenile saja, tapi tetap mengekalkan punishment yang berat macam tu. And then muncullah contact system, which is offering more home-like surrounding and individual treatment for boys in state reform school. So dalam tahun ni dah ada cottage system, bilik seorang-seorang untuk kanak-kanak ni. Next. Evolution of correctional facility. Recent juvenile correctional facilities model after adult facilities having separate room cells for residents, reflecting a departure from the cottage system. And there are child survey movement influence. The child survey movement influencing the creation of the juvenile court system also impacted the design and treatment method of juvenile institution. So apa yang saya nak terangkan ni semua relate to child survey movement. And then there are rural location influence, which is the preference for rural location in many juvenile institutions today may trace its origin to the belief that urban life fosters delinquency. And exposure to rural life could promote healthier development. Diorang kata, diorang percaya yang lebih baik letakkan kanak-kanak yang bersalah ni luar bandar daripada bandar sendiri. Next. So, saya akan terangkan about orphan trains masa Amerika ni. From 1854 through 1929, the Children Aid Society operate orphan train, which is they are transporting homeless children to the Midwest, offering them to the local family, and some family treated them well and others keep them in indented servant, kerja hamba lah. The development of the juvenile court marked a shift from punishment to treatment and rehabilitation. Today, juvenile institutions focus on education and counseling rather than absolute vocational program. Next. There are details of orphan trains. The children, trains stop at Presilit Town, which is local farm families having the opportunity to look over the passenger and select one or more to live with them. Family farm ni ada opportunity nak pilih anak yang mana yang dia nak. Boleh jadi kanak-kanak tu adik-beradik, tapi dia tak nak salah seorang pun tak apa. And the children on the trains were either orphans or those whose parents had relinquished custody. Next. Ni adalah orphan trains passenger experience. Dia kata the trip was great adventure and we couldn't get down looking out the window. Diorang tak boleh tengok kat luar diorang pergi mana, and boys were in the compartment and girls in another. We had no idea where we going, and diorang the main hope masa tu adalah untuk dipilih oleh keluarga untuk makan. Bagi foster family, keluarga angkat ni, some foster family treated children well, eventually adopting them, while others keep them in an indented servant status, hamba, overworking them and providing little affection. Ada yang ambil tu memang niat nak jadi hamba lah, and then bagi dia orang kasih sayang yang sangat sedikit. And then separation from siblings could lead to a loss of contact for many years. Ada yang adik-beradik tadi mungkin tak contact langsung, bila besar baru jumpa. Next. And just orphan trains, other juvenile institutionalization ideas. Ideas included school shape, military school, and foster home placement. These were often under the auspices of religious group and not widely available for the urban, poor, and minority group members. Development of juvenile court in the early 20th century. The juvenile court was developed based on the idea of the state acting of a benevolent substitute parent. The court aimed to provide individualized attention, assuring in the area of treatment and rehabilitation. The evolution of juvenile institution programs. Various programs in juvenile institution were in cycle, adapting to changing philosophies and perspective. Changes in perspective range from punishment-oriented to a focus on serving the child to counseling and treatment. Shift toward education and counseling. Right now, the programming in juvenile institution has shifted towards education and counseling. Earlier, vocational programs like forestry, camp, and farm. Current vocational program face challenge due to the lack of resources and additional educational background of the youth. Next. So, ada 4 jenis correctional facilities for juvenile. First, detention center. Detention center are secure facilities that hold youth who are considered too risky for release before juvenile court hearings due to their violent behavior, inability to return home, or need for examination treatment. These youths are guaranteed a hearing within an established period of time and are also held by those who have been adjudicated delinquent and are waiting for president or institutional placement. Maknanya detention center ni tempat sementara. State and federal minimum standard for detention center require that youth be given food, clothing, bedding, recreation, exercise, and the opportunity to participate in the school. The potential for a child to attempt suicide is high, and those who exhibit suicidal or mental health systems should be tested by psychologists or psychiatrists. Many states prohibit children who are victims of abuse, neglect, or abandonment from being housed in youth detention center. Next. Okay, yang second, juveniles in adult jail. Masa dulu, Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Act mandated separate non-secure detention facilities for status offenders to be eligible for federal fund. In 1980, amendment prohibit the confinement of any juvenile in adult. New rules allow it for a short time under specific condition, like if they were charged with something bad or waiting for a court visit, but they had to keep separate for adult. Masa ni, diorang dah start fikir yang tak elok juveniles ni bersama dengan adult. Even after changing rules, a lot of young people were still being kept in adult jails. So in 2010, around 1% of the people in jail were younger than 18, which is not a lot, but it's still important. And reasons juvenile in adult jails ni actually is because in lack of facility lah, and the transportation to other jurisdiction and housing until contact with parent placement. Basically tempat-tempat ni sementara je, tapi still tak ada. And psychological impact to the juvenile. Placing young individual in adult jails can have devastating psychological effect on them, being exposed to the harsh environment and potentially dangerous condition of adult, and can be highly detrimental to the mental well-being of juvenile. Maknanya juvenile ni masuk, dia buat salah satu je, maybe bila duduk dalam tu, dia orang surrounded by adult, kan? Tak baik. Next. Okay, juveniles under the same topic. So there are solitary confinement. There is a requirement that youth be held out of sight and sound of adult inmate. However, in some cases, this separation has led to the placement of young individual in solitary confinement. Kalau tadi diorang duduk sorang-sorang dalam detention center, ni sorang-sorang juga, tapi macam jail. Tak ada macam ni dia kata, limiting the time a child can spend outside of their cell. Dia orang mention cell maknanya lebih kepada jail. And challenge and reason, young people end up in adult jails when there are no other place for them or when they are waiting for a special youth detention place. Being in adult jail is tough for young people, especially if they are alone most of the time. So concern and advocacy. Despite concern and advice against keep young people in adult jail, it still happen. Judges and police who make the rules need to understand that it's not good for young people. Adult jail often lack the right things for them, like enough caretaker, play areas, and helpful program. And call for change. Advocacy is needed to tell rule maker about the issue and find better way to help young people when they got into trouble. So overall, juveniles in adult jails tak elok lah sebab budak tu kecil lagi. Next, kita ada shelter homes. Shelter homes ni open, dia bukan hanya untuk kanak-kanak yang buat salah. Shelter home are designed to offer short-term care for young individual in an environment that is not secure, emphasizing a temporary and supportive setting. Target dia, the primary beneficiaries are juveniles referred to the court as dependent or neglected children. The Juvenile Justice Act of 1974 recommend placing status offender in need of temporary shelter in this facility rather than in detention center with delinquent. Yang orang kata better letak kanak-kanak yang status offender sahaja dengan dekat shelter homes yang mana dia orang buat illegal thing, bukan buat salah. And then the characteristic of public shelter homes are typically small, dalam 112 orang sahaja, and they are commonly administered at the local level, indicating a community approach to providing care. Unlike youth placed in detention, children placed in shelter facilities may come from various sources. They can be directly referred by parents, children's service agency, or other social agency, indicating a more varied entry point into this supportive environment. Yang masuk shelter homes ni bukan sahaja daripada court, maknanya boleh jadi mak ayah hantar. Next, reception or diagnostic center. Some states have reception or diagnostic centers specifically designed for youth who receive a disposition of institutionalization. These centers serve a crucial step before long-term placement. Tempat reception or diagnostic center ni sebenarnya diorang test kanak-kanak ni sebelum diorang masuk court and ditentukan kat mana tempat yang sesuai diorang patut letak. Youth assigned to this center undergo a comprehensive study and evaluation process that lasts for a period ranging from 1 to 6 weeks. The evaluation conduct at this center includes testing in various domains such as medical assessment, psychological evaluation, and attitude testing. The primary goal of the evaluation process is to help the staff make informed decisions about the most suitable and beneficial placement for each youth. Reception or diagnostic center are generally administered by a state agency responsible for youth correction. In a state without reception or diagnostic center, ataupun private institution, the judge play a key role designing the specific facility where are the youth to be placed. So actually reception ni penting lah, sebab kalau tempat yang tak ada ni hakim akan menentukan. So next, long-term secure facility. Inilah yang lama-lama duduk dalam ni. Long-term facility for juvenile who have been incarcerated come in different form like training school, ranches, camp, farm, halfway houses, and group home. The focus has shifted from strict punishment to more treatment-based approach, especially in private facilities that offer specialist programs. The building can range from looking like prison to more home-like setting. The main goal of this institution are to maintain control, protect the community, and provide treatment and rehabilitation. The specific approach varies depending on the type of facility and who is charged of running. So we're going to go details of long-term secure facilities. So there are types of long-term incarceration facilities. The various facilities including training school, branches, forestry camp, farm, halfway houses, and group homes cater to long-term incarceration for juvenile. Training school, often referred to as Young Development Center, are more secure juvenile correctional facilities, and there are differences between the private and public facility. Over half of the facilities are private, but they house less than 1/3 of the juvenile. Public facilities are administered by state or local government agency, while private facilities are operated by non-profit or for-profit organization. So physical structure at long-term secure facilities ni, the physical structure of an institution varies widely from cell-like living quarter in fortress-like structure to the more home-like atmosfera of small cottage. Dulu diorang tinggal kecil-kecil dalam tempat yang sempit. Sekarang diorang buat macam rumah kecil-kecil juga. Institution may have open architecture without perimeter wall and dormitory-like building called cottage with 15 to 40 youth assigned to each. Next. So ni example of the facility, ada dua, Red Wing Correctional Facility and Youth Correctional Center. So kalau boleh tengok gambar tu, bezanya Red Wing ni dia resemble a prison, and another one dia macam cottage style structure with tailor program. And next, evaluation in facility design. Newer facility design for older and more hardcore delinquent resemble a prison structure, and there is an increasing emphasis on control reflected in uniform, regulation, haircut, regimen of movement, and enforce. Bila banyak dah before ni punya history, diorang sekarang ada ubah, ada kerak rambut macam mana, ada uniform. Next. Oh, betul lah. And then the organization goals. Long-term institutional generally aim to control, protect the community, provide treatment, and rehabilitate inmates. Organizational goals may come in vary, with some institutions being custody-oriented, other treatment-focused, and some seeking a balance between custody and treatment. And the Street et al. In 1966 categories organization model as obedience and conformity, re-educational or development, and treatment, with mixed goal institution also existing within the same facility. Next. So last for me, there are unit management, which is functional unit dalam organizational mode. So functional unit organizational model ni process involve testing based on the queer behavioral classification model and determining housing assignment and treatment programs tailored to behavior. Customized treatment program. Each cottage operates a self-contained unit, allowing unit manager and staff to design programs that address both security and treatment needs specific to the youth houses in their cottage. Classification progress. Boys arriving at the facility undergo classification. Initially houses in the classification cottage, Behavioral traits identified through tests, staff observation, and interviews influence housing assignment. Different cottages are designed for specific behavioral type. For example, inadequate, immature, or unsocialized, aggressive, which counselor employing suitable approach. Apa yang saya nak kata, actually, dia terangkan ada satu unit ni, diorang akan buat nak test juvenile ni perangai macam mana, adakah tak mature, adakah agresif. So, Ohio Juvenile Correctional Facility in Ohio reflect aspect of mixed goal institution, serving male youth with unit designed to address the characteristic and needs of the resident. The facility provides diverse services and treatment programs, including education, behavioral health, medical care, recreation, religious services, community service, and re-entry services. And range of treatment programs. Treatment programs at their target issues like substance abuse, anger, aggression, violence, depression, anxiety, self-injury, and gang involvement. The various programs such as horticulture, victim awareness, graphic design, and music are offered by personnel or volunteer, including students from nearby college. Next, I'm going to pass to Nina.
40.6 Classification of residents based on security risk and special need. First, when a youth is adjudicated delinquent and committed to a correctional facility, the committing judge will not specify the specific correctional facility to which the youth should be sent. Second, private facility for juvenile usually offer specialist programs such as drug abuse treatment, or they are designed for offenders with specific problems such as being emotionally disturbed. The classification process treatment given to a youth involves several steps, including assessing the youth's needs and problems, developing a program, and following through with implementing the plan. Different institutions may be differentiated on the basis of security needs, sex, and age levels of the needs, and the seriousness of the offence committed by the youth housed there. Okay, next. 40.7 Treatment program in secure institution, academic and vocational education, individual and group counselling, recreational activity. Treatment program yang diadakan di institusi ni, salah satunya ialah vocational program. Diorang akan buat contoh macam cooking, gardening, or laundry service. Lepas tu dekat institusi tu juga for older offenders, those who will not be expected to return to school after release, the major focus of the treatment plan is centered on providing work experience. Okay, next. Second, counselling, problem counselling diadakan di institusi itu. Selain itu, guided group. Guided group ni, diorang akan dalam institusi itu diorang akan berikan satu group dan seorang akan jadi ketua. So diorang akan bertanggungjawab dalam melakukan pelbagai aktiviti. Selain itu, another method of good treatment that had considerable public interest for a short period was the creation of boot camps. Boot camps ni diorang akan diadakan dalam satu tahun tu, diorang akan adakan 3 hingga 4 bulan. Dan banyak aktiviti yang diorang akan lakukan untuk imitate the physical and emotional challenging programs. Next. 40.8 Factor that inhibit the effectiveness of institutional program. First, the power of juvenile institutional programs to provide treatment is often limited by pressure to maintain tight control and custody to present a good image to state officials and prevent adverse reaction from the citizen. Second, large exposure to the deplorable condition in many institutions for delinquent youth create a kind of physical numbness in the staff and they become indifferent. Third, many of the change came about as a result of court decision and legislation requiring minimum standard in regard to food, clothing, and living quarters, discrimination, and on the use of solitary confinement and the use of physical punishment. Next. 40.6 The juveniles respond to institutional life. To achieve the goals of release, the juvenile resident must seem to be cooperating with the staff and progressing in the treatment program set up for him or her. It means juvenile tu ataupun youth tu dia orang perlu bekerjasama ataupun menyesuaikan diri dalam sesuatu institusi itu dan bekerjasama dengan staff supaya dia orang dapat bebaskan diri dia orang. So diorang berjaya untuk riliskan diri diorang daripada institusi itu. Second, the resident subculture may make demands upon the juvenile that and also with those made by the staff. Even under optimal condition, there are dangers that the youth might be physical or sexually assaulted by the staff or other resident, be beaten through extortion, humiliated or confused, develop a negative self-image and experience other forms of deprivation. Konklusinya, dekat kehidupan di institusi ini tidaklah sebagus apa yang kita expect, sebab kehidupan di institusi ini tidak begitu mudah bagi mereka yang lemah. Sebab dalam orang contohlah, orang yang lemah dekat institusi itu akan ditindas dengan orang yang lebih ganas. Okay, next. 40.10, victimization and violence in institution. A history of aggressive behavior, however, appear to have a stronger influence on the aggressive behavior of individuals in treatment-oriented institutions than it did on those in institution with a constitutive emphasis. Second, therefore, that a history of aggressive behavior was the most important variable in explaining inmate aggression within an institution, regardless of the type of institution in which the youth was held. Okay, dalam institusi ini, masalah terbesar dalam institusi adalah tingkah laku agresif diorang yang menyebabkan semua staf dan orang luar bandar campur tangan dalam hal ini bagi mengelakkan situasi kecemasan seperti serangan penduduk ataupun rusuhan. Okay, next. 40.11, institutional effectiveness. First, for some youth, the institutional experience provided a more secure and structured environment than they had before incarceration. Nevertheless, institutional life is not an experience that will prepare young people for the real world, to which they will have to make an adjustment after being released from the juvenile correctional facility. Second, generally, there is a little room for refinement, culture development, or creativity in the experience. And most important, there is a little opportunity for the youth to use their judgment to make decisions that will have an impact on their future life. Okay, next. Okay, last, 40.12, normalization. Normalization means providing those youth who are thrown into the justice system with experience that approximate as nearly as possible those of normal community life. Third, attempts were made to change the authority system in the institution by emphasizing group process within the cottage. Last, the juvenile were given a good deal of decision-making responsibility for their individual unit in the hope of counteracting the negative impact on the inmate subculture. Okay, that's all.
Do you guys have any question? Mesti nak balik, okay. Siapa tanya soalan dapat million, siapa jawab soalan dapat tiket. Any question?
Okay. My question is, can you tell us some of the rules that the juveniles have to obey in the shelter home?
I'm sorry if I'm not going to explain well, but dalam tu dia tak ada cakap apa tempat, sebab shelter homes ni dia macam penempatan. Dia macam rumah singgah. Tempat dia penempatan, dia bukan macam jail. Dia macam tempat orang homeless duduk situ, tapi dia kejap je lah. Contoh kalau ada orang nak ambil pun kat situ lah. Okay. Next. Tak ada? Kalau tak, kita orang tanya 3 soalan.
I have a question about history of juvenile institutions in America. So it was mentioned here that in 1857 a quota system was implemented in Ohio, offering more home-like surroundings and individualized treatment for boys in state reform school. Jadi soalan saya, sebab mereka sebut boys kan, jadi macam mana pula untuk juvenile, bagi yang perempuan, mereka dapat treatment yang sama ke macam mana?
Basically, diorang girls akan kurang sikit, tidak terlalu ganas dan berat seperti lelaki pada zaman tu lah. Okay, question. Easy je, sebab nak balik dah. State 3 minimum standard for detention center. Bagi 3 minimum standard dalam detention center. Minimum standard for detention center. Tengok dekat detention center punya page. Depan.
Food, exercise dengan recreation. Soalan seterusnya, apakah salah satu treatment program yang diadakan di institusi? Apakah salah satu treatment program yang diadakan di institusi? Bagi salah satu je.
Group counseling.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.